This is the Volvo EX60 and it's the most important car that Volvo has come out with in years. Why? Because it's the all-electric version of the XC60, which is its best-selling car of all time, and the vehicle that turned Volvo into an SUV powerhouse. This also happens to be going head-to-head with our electrifying car of the year for 2026, the BMW iX3. So, you know, no pressure then. Should we take a look at it? Come on. So, Volvo EX60, first time I've seen this in the studio today. I do think it looks great. As you can see, it's that big family SUV. It's up against the likes of the Mercedes GLC, the Audi Q6 e-tron, and of course, that car, the BMW iX3. In fact, it's almost as if Volvo has taken the iX3 and gone, right, we're just going to do what they're doing, but we're going to do it slightly bit better. So in terms of range, the big figure on this is 503 miles from the range topper. 3 miles more than the iX3. In terms of charging, you can add 200 miles on in 10 minutes. Same as the iX3. 10 to 80%, that will be 19 minutes. 1 minute faster than the iX3. It's going to be really fun seeing these two together. But what's really obvious from those stats is how much the two of them are leapfrogging the competition in terms of range and technology. And this car is doing it in the same way that the BMW iX3 does, because it's all being built on a completely new dedicated platform. Let me explain. Now, because I'm in Sweden to film this video, I would now like you to picture a smorgasbord. I know, bear with me on this. You see, from a smorgasbord, you can help yourself to different things, put them together to create your perfect meal. Building a car is a bit like that. You see, manufacturers don't develop everything themselves. Traditionally, they've picked and mixed batteries, motors, software from different suppliers, which is one reason why so many EVs do feel a bit similar. BMW has moved away from that with its Neue Class cars, which of course is the next generation iX3. So they're engineering more of the car themselves into one integrated system, and Volvo is doing the same with this. So it's built on a new dedicated platform, and like BMW, it's designed as a fully software-defined car. It's got a core tech stack which underpins everything, and it's powered by the latest must-have for car makers, an Nvidia chip. Right then, let's have a look at it, because in terms of how it looks, it's clearly a member of the Volvo family, isn't it? Which means it's going to be familiar to those current XC60 drivers. But everything has been smoothed and tightened up to help with efficiency. There's such a nice line down the side of that car for Aero and these scoops in the bonnet. This is where I need to say that I absolutely am obsessed with Scandinavian design. I really love the pared back, minimal approach. And that's what I think this is an example of, just brilliant Scandinavian design. It's really refreshing to see an SUV look like this. You've got the Thor's hammer lights. I love this trim along the bottom, although sadly it's plastic. Wouldn't it be nice if it was metal? Wheels. Let's give a shout out for the wheels. Look at them. They're enormous. They're 23 inch. They come up to the top of my legs. And yes, other sizes are available, but why would you bother when they look like that? So nice. I love the frameless mirrors. Again, you know, just pared back and minimal, frameless doors. With this, these are wing grip door handles, and they are fabulous. They just feel so nice. They've got a little light on the top. They're just fixed there on the top of the doors. That is lovely. Just want to open and close the door all day. That's really nice. And listen to that. That's a proper thunk of a door, isn't it? That's how a door should close. Let's give a shout out to the colour. Forest Lake. Beautiful colour. I would quite like my front door painted this colour, please, Volvo. If you could send me the paint swatch, that would be great. And here, there we go, charging flap. Now, I know why they've done this. It's a very clever idea. When it rains, it's the theory, you know, you're not going to get your hand wet. However, I've used this on other cars, and what happens when it has been raining is all the water that's gathered there runs down the back and falls onto your hand. So I'm going to reserve judgment on that until I can see how it performs in the rain. I think the rear end of this thing is really nice. Again, you can really see the thought that's been given to the Aero. I love the step lights. And you can see that line here that runs right the way down the car. I just think it's beautifully done. However, it might be a bit too minimal for you. You might want something a bit more rugged. Something like this. A more rugged cross-country version. It wouldn't be a Volvo without one, would it? In a brand new Volvo colour, frost green. I love it. Of course, you get the raised ride height to make it look a bit more robust and adventurous. Air suspension, that adds another 20 millimetres when you need that extra comfort. And at higher speeds, the car can lower itself to reduce drag and improve efficiency. You've got a wider track, wide wheel arch claddings, and some really nice detailing like a steel D-pillar badging with the cross-country lettering in there. And look at this, a brushed steel skid plate at the front and the back. I could just take this and put it on the other car, I'd be really happy. So what do you think? Now, don't look at this one too much because it's not coming for ages. The other version though will be here within a few months. So how do you think it stacks up against the competition? Cars like the Porsche Macan, that BMW, the Mercedes, the Audi. Drop us a comment and let us know. This is where I get excited in a Volvo, inside, because it's lovely. I really, really do want them to design my house for me. It just feels like a really comfy Scandi living room. You've got lovely materials, nice wood, just really tactile fabrics. Everything just is very nice to touch. And it's got a really pared back feeling again. You've not got screens bombarding you. So you've got your central screen, which is now powered by Google Gemini. I think it's the first car to get that. It's going to make the voice activation sort of less laggy and a bit more intuitive. I would show you, but it's not working yet, so I can't. And then you get another screen just there in front of you for all the driver information. We've definitely reached peak screen, haven't we? This is much more my vibe. I love the shape of the steering wheel with its, you know, just flat top and bottom, simple controls on there. This I love. I love the volume control. It's so pretty. Yeah, I just think it's really beautifully designed. But you know what my favourite thing in here is? Something that it hasn't got, because it now doesn't have a button in the menu to open the glove box, because you open it there. It drives me mad on other Volvos. Why do I need to go into a menu to open a glove box? So much nicer that it's there. It's good size as well, with a little storage tray and wireless charging above. Love that. I also love this. A flock-lined middle handbaggy storage area, although that's going to get filthy in my house because that's going to have chocolate and all kinds of rubbish filled in there, so I would worry about that. This is also very nice. Ta-da! For your cup holders. And it just feels very satisfying and clunky and solid and well made. Really like it. What else? Oh, the pano roof. Oh, standard on all models. Don't you love that? And it has a little party trick. Come look at this. And you wouldn't be able to find it. There it is. Roof shading. Shades instantly. Open again. Really nice, isn't it? Yeah, frameless mirror again on all Volvos. Of course, you've got the little Swedish flag on the seats. It's just a really nice place to be. Yeah, so I'll have a paint swatch, please, for my door. And if you could do me a mood board for my living room from the interior. Perfect, thanks. So while I'm sitting here, let's talk about performance, which once again ramps up as you move through the lineup. So you kick off with the P6, 374 horsepower, 0 to 62 on 5.9 seconds. The P10 goes to 510 horsepower, 0 to 62 time drops to 4.6 seconds. And of course, being a Volvo, you get the mad one, the P12, which sits at the top with a very healthy 680 horsepower with a 3.9 second 0 to 62 time, which is a lot for a family SUV. All versions are limited to 112 miles per hour. What is coming to the EX60 is something called ProPilot Plus. So basically that means that on certain motorways, the system will be licensed to steer and do assisted lane changing without you having your hands on the wheel. So it's the same eyes on the road, hands off the wheel system that Ford uses, and that's licensed to be used in the UK. And no surprises, it's also going on to the BMW iX3. Spooky, eh? It won't be available from launch, by the way, but it is coming sometime in 2026. You know, I love that little grab handle there to close the door. This is a very tactile car. But I'm not here to talk about how tactile it is, because I want to talk about seat belts. Bear with me. I know it doesn't sound exciting, but they are very clever. So this car gets what Volvo is calling new multi-adaptive safety belts. So basically it means the seat belts can adjust how they work depending on who's sitting in what particular seat and what's happening around the car. So it basically uses sensors inside the vehicle to work out your body size and shape and how you're sitting and how serious an impact might be, and then it tweaks the seat belts to apply just the right amount of pressure. So in a big crash, they'll hold you more firmly. In a smaller crash, they would ease off a bit to reduce the risk of injury. You know, for a child, it will respond differently to the pressure it applies to a large guy that's sitting in the seat. Because it's a Volvo, it gets smarter over time through software updates, which are constantly learning how the seat belts are reacting in all of its cars. I actually think this is one of the most exciting parts of this car, because it's really moving on something that we basically just buckle up and forget about. And as a parent, it's that kind of, I don't know, just reassurance that you get with Volvo when it comes to safety. However, as a parent, I'd also like to point out that these doors don't open very wide. Look at that. So you've got ISOFIX child seat points on the outside of both seats. And I think the angle of the door may make it quite difficult to get a child out of a front-facing seat unless it's one of those seats that you can turn to the side. Just my observation. Other than that, it's very nice in here. Little storage compartment down there. You've got individual climate control, pocket on the back of the seats for your stuff, and it's got a really nice carpet. Look at this carpet. Again, it's better quality than the carpet I've got in my bedroom. Right, so we're adding paint colour, interior design and carpets. Please, Volvo, thanks. Boot space is, as you would imagine, very good. About 630 odd litres. That compares to 520 on the BMW iX3, so yes, it is larger. Put the seats down and there is a massive load space in there. This is what I really like about the boot though. It has a 70-30 split under compartment, which is something all the Electrifying gang love for chucking their muddy wellies in. They're brilliant. And then that side opens. It's very clever because if you've got loads of load in here, dog crate, for example, shopping, kids' bike, pram, you can still access that. I think that's really smart. I also like these little compartments that are covered on either side. Interestingly, both the BMW and this have a frunk that is exactly the same size, 58 litres, almost like they planned it. However, if you do decide not to have your warning triangle in the frunk on the EX60, that size increases to about 65 litres, but I might be making that up. So it'll be on a graphic on screen because I'm pretty sure I got that wrong. Anyway, it gets a lot bigger. Look at this. I love this. Almost forgot. It's one of my favourite bits of the cars on Volvos. It tells you what it will fit. So it will fit on this one a guitar with your suitcase and your pram. The dog goes in and your golf clubs. That I always think is a rucksack. It will get your houseplant from your trip to IKEA, and then that looks a bit like a rubbish bin. And I'm not quite sure why you carry a rubbish bin, particularly if you're using skis. Story time over.
Now, you might not be buying a new car, and if you're looking at used EVs, the website is where we help people avoid the usual mistakes. We've got used car listings, but with context that actually matters, things like battery warranties, reviews and guides to what to watch out for. If you're watching this on a smart TV or computer, you can scan the QR code and browse on your phone while the video keeps playing.
Now, as I said, range is clearly one of the big selling points for the EX60, and you get 3 different battery options. The P6, which comes with an 80 kilowatt hour usable battery, giving up to 385 miles of range. 620 kilometres if you use kilometres. Peak DC charging on that is up to 320 kilowatts, and they all sit on that 800 volt system. Next up you get the P10, which has a 91 kilowatt hour usable battery, pushing the range up to 410 miles. 660 kilometres, and charging, well, that goes up to a peak of 370 kilowatts. And then, of course, you get the big battery with its 503 miles. That's a 112 kilowatt hour usable battery, which unlocks that figure, which incidentally, just to remind you, is 3 miles more than you get in the BMW iX3. Charging again on that is up to 370 kilowatts. Now, of course, that 370 figure doesn't quite hit the peak charging rate the BMW offers of 400 kilowatts, but it's all about the charging curve, isn't it? And we haven't been able to see that yet. It's just too soon. So we'll be checking all those figures once we get both of those cars for longer in the UK. And of course, this comes with vehicle to load. You're going to need to buy an adapter, and it's already equipped for vehicle to home and vehicle to grid. So you're getting all the latest tech.
So, shall we get on to the big one, pricing? We're expecting the EX60 to kick off at £56,860 for the smaller battery, with its claimed range of around 385 miles. However, it's worth bearing in mind that the entry-level iX3 may start at just under £59,000, but it does get that 500 miles of range. And that extra range may well sway buyers towards the BMW.
But I think what really strikes me after looking around this car today is how fast EV tech is moving on. You know, they're going further, they're getting smarter, and crucially, although I know this is an expensive premium car, they are getting better value for money. Look, this has certainly got the numbers to take on our car of the year, the BMW iX3. Like I said, it's almost as if it's been designed to do that. Different badge, but very similar thinking. And if you want a refresher of our car of the year, then why not go and see my first look or first drive of that video, and then let us know how you think they stack up in the comments below. Which would you go for? Which would be your choice for a posh family SUV?